this thing on? Can everybody hear me? Is this on? Can you hear me? I'm sorry. Wait. It's check. It's clean up on aisle 7. Clean up on aisle 7. Susie 6812. Clean up on aisle 7. Hi, this is Mike Bauman. Actually, the lyrics that I just heard on the way over here, I think it was Audio Slave. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I just tweeted it, where he's like, I'm feeling California. Or no, he goes, I'm looking California. God, I just butchered that. Rewind. He's like, I'm looking California and feeling Minnesota. That's kind of how I feel right now.
Wow, I can tell that the New Year's has done well for you.
It is not worn off, man.
You're starting 2013 off on a good note.
I'm looking California.
Is that what it is?
And I'm feeling Minnesota, baby.
Man, you don't look it though. You look like you had a. It looks like you got rode in sopping wet, and they just threw you in the old.
Rode hard and put away wet. You would know about that, wouldn't you? Wow! I'm just on fire today, baby. This is Mike Bauman, everybody. I hope you all had as lovely New Year's Eve as I did. I had some fun and damn near broke my back. And actually, probably lucky I didn't tear my ACL or my PCL or my MCL. My leg really hurts. But yes.
Yeah, you were playing defensive end for the Detroit Lions. Is that what it was?
My life, no, not quite.
Did your life pass before you?
No, it didn't because I was too drunk to notice. But I was drinking responsibly. Okay, I did not drive. For those of you, he was drunk. You know what? So sue me, all right? I had a few.
It's a friend's wedding.
Had a few drinks. Yeah. My life was a Katherine Heigl movie for like the last 4 days. I had two weddings in 3 days. Yeah. So my cousin got married on the 29th. Shout out to Bridge and Zach. I love you guys. I think they're in Puerto Vallarta or some. Forgive me. I don't.
Where the Love Boat goes?
I don't know.
Puerto Vallarta.
The Love Boat.
Yeah, that's it.
That's too puffy. I'm sorry, you guys. Yeah. I don't want to damage your ears. But yeah, they got married on the 29th, and I was an usher in their wedding, and that was like a traditional Catholic wedding. They got married at St. Pat's Historic here in Toledo, which is
nice place.
Beautiful.
You've been in a lot of weddings this year.
Dude, it's been crazy, man.
It's
I told you.
Fourth or third.
It's like 27 dresses with Katherine Heigl. They should have put me in that damn movie. My life has been like a friggin' chick flick for like the last couple of months. Yeah, everybody's getting married except me. I'm still single.
Well, I mean, the right rouge, the right makeup, and a wig, and the right. You'd fit in pretty well over Brett's or something.
I think I do. I do Katherine Heigl justice. I would. But yeah, so that was like a traditional Catholic wedding. It was a full mass.
That last sentence or two wasn't traditional Catholic, so
no,
we'll leave it at that.
Okay. It wasn't. It was a full-fledged mass, and then the reception was at Central Park West in town, which is a nice place. It's not too big, it's not too small.
Food's good there too.
There was about maybe $150, 200 people there, and I had a lot of fun. Had a couple of black velvet and ginger ales because they didn't have Jameson. And got out there and cut the rug. Had some fun.
Literally.
I did, man. Freaking tore that shit up.
All right, now explain to our viewers or listeners what exactly you did that almost put you in a body cast.
Okay, so that wedding went pretty well, and I had fun. Did not get hurt. My legs were a little sore.
This is another wedding.
Yeah, this is my cousin's wedding on the 29th.
Oh, you had another wedding.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's what I told you. Where you been?
Oh,
man?
you went over and let me like a freight train.
Don't you listen to me when I talk? He doesn't listen anymore. Bill, that's why we're here. For $75 a minute to have you write down smiley faces and take notes on our therapy. He doesn't listen to me anymore. I do the dishes. I cook the lasagna. He complains about how salty it is. I mean, Jesus H, what the hell am I going to do anymore? I can't stand it.
No, but yes, my cousin got married on the 29th. That was the traditional Catholic wedding at St. Pat's Historic. You follow? You with me so far?
On the 29th.
On the 29th. You with
Which was 2 days ago, the day we're taping.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. And then one of my best friends, I've known him since like not even a month before my 10th birthday.
Okay.
I've known him more than half my life.
Wow.
Like a brother from another lover. Shout out to Justin and Lindsay. I love you guys. They got married yesterday on New Year's Eve.
And you were an usher in this one.
and I did a reading in this wedding.
Oh, okay. So
and
traditional Catholic reading?
No, they didn't have their wedding was at the Hilton Garden Inn, which is a very nice hotel here in town, and they have a cool reception area in the back.
Yep.
And so they sectioned off, one part, and they just had the ceremony back there. And I did a reading, and
then
I got
they have hotel rooms right there too.
Exactly. So I just stayed, man. No drinking and driving for this guy.
There you go. Responsible.
Right. So that wedding was at 6:30, and I did the reading, and it went well, and it was very nice. And then there was like a little break ski until 8, because they tore down the seats and then put up the tables and set up the whole reception and everything within like an hour. It was awesome.
Okay.
Top notch stuff, man. Food was excellent. And so then it gets to the dancing at the reception, and
picture Michael Bauman dancing.
That's right.
I'm trying to picture this.
Yeah, it's a little. It'd be kind of like if there was an animation of like a like if you could do like the human version of a car starter that's sputtering, like just very spastic. And then once it finally gets going, though, that stuff's going. You're good to roll for about 30, 40 miles, baby.
Wow.
And that's how I was on the dance floor last night. I was sputtered, and then I got rolling. And I got rolling because of a few strong Jameson and ginger ales.
They had Jamesons there.
They did.
All right. Good for you.
And my stepdad, dude, he makes a friggin' killer margarita. Like that.
With Jamesons?
No, not with Jameson.
Okay.
So I had a margarita to loosen up, like before the reception started.
Uh-huh.
I took a shot of Jameson before the actual wedding just so I'd be fine. And I really wasn't nervous. Like, for some reason, I'm more nervous at weddings where I have nothing to do with it because I don't know who's going to be there.
Right.
But, like, when I had to do this reading yesterday, I was fine. I was not nervous at all. But my stepdad's margaritas are probably like 80% booze. I mean, they are strong and they are good.
Okay.
So I sucked down one of those puppies before the reception started and before I hit the dance floor.
Before you even ate.
Before I even ate.
Oh, boy.
And the food was, oh, my God, it was delicious. By the way, I recommend to anybody who's getting married out there, do a buffet, dude. Don't do the sit down, we bring you the plate, you pick a card, you got to make up all them stupid little cards. Do you want the beef? Do you want the pork? Do you want the rib tips? You know what you do? You give everybody a salad, and then you have a buffet line, because then people can pick whatever the hell they want. It's a lot easier. I highly recommend it, and it's a lot better. My brother's wedding was like that. The food was delicious. My buddy last night, Justin, his wedding with his wife, Lindsay, was like that, and it was freaking delicious. The chicken was, oh, my God, it was great, and the potatoes. So I'm feeling good. They do the garter toss. Nobody went after it, so I dove on the floor and made an ass out of myself, and then spun around and did like a little beatbox.
Little beatbox.
I know. You know what I'm saying?
On the floor.
Yeah, a little break dancing, and but then they did it over again, and I didn't catch it, so I got gypped. I felt like.
Yeah, you worked so hard the first time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, nobody went for it.
See, that's what you get for working hard.
Nobody went for it, so I was like, I'll take that stuff.
And
man.
it's just like what's going on in government now. Nobody goes for it. And you worked hard for it.
So I was dancing my arse off.
With a young lady?
My pale
or
Irish
2 or 6?
Yeah, they were in the vicinity. I think I kind of freaked them out a little bit because I can't really dance. Like I said, my dancing is
They didn't want to give you the look so you could see the look. They turned their face and gave the look.
One of them, I was like, so are you going to kiss me at midnight? And she's like, no, I'm sorry. Dude, I had a few drinks. I had no fear.
You probably had a piece of chicken hanging out of your mouth,
Dude,
too.
I had
you
no
didn't
fear.
even think about that.
It's okay. She wasn't a... She wasn't a starter. I'll just say that. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But if we're talking like in basketball terms, she was like the 14th girl off the bench out of 15. And she doesn't know who the hell I am, and she'll probably never listen to this. I don't even know her name, so I don't feel bad saying that about her.
She doesn't. She doesn't make her fouls.
Let's say the type of guy that she would go for would probably be somebody that you would see in the gentleman's club. You know, in a dark room.
Oh, okay, all right.
I was not her type. You know, I was not her type. She had a dress on that looked like it was something out of striptease, and stuff was hanging out, and she had some tats. And I was like, you know what? Maybe she'd give me a smooch. And turns out I wasn't Motley Crue enough for her. I'm thinking that's what it was, because I had a nice suit, man. I had my nice suit on.
Good little Hungarian girl.
I had my blue tie on. I was looking good. You know what I'm saying? I was looking good. But anyway, so cut to like this is probably like the ball's dropped now, shit's going down. It's probably maybe like
people are excited. It's a Happy New Year.
They had the hall.
2013.
They had the hall till like 1 a.m. So we watched the ball drop and all that.
And I don't even remember what song was on, but I remember my buddy Chris, who is a good dancer and who was the reverend in the wedding. He got certified through, like, the state of Ohio and just as his first...
Like through Popular Mechanics or
I don't
something?
even know, man,
okay,
but it was funny. But he's, like, a good dancer, and he was like, Mike, he's like, jump on your hands and do like a handstand and then jump back. And I was like, all right. And I did it early in the night, and I, like, clacked my feet when I did it, and I was fine.
Wow.
But I sucked down another Jameson and ginger ale. So at this point, dude, I wasn't even like a sputtering starter. I was like the Energizer Bunny on crack, dude. I was just... And so this one dude was dancing ridiculously, and then he kind of cleared the area like, all right, it's your turn, man. Oh. So, dude, I jump on my hands, all right? And if you can picture a drunk man trying to do a handstand, and I clacked my feet in the air, and then my momentum carried me forward.
So you, like, almost did a flip.
So I did do a flip, and my legs folded underneath me. Oh. Somehow I managed to stay on, like, the balls of my feet. Like, the tops of my feet were not on the floor. So I did a handstand, and instead of going back the other way, I flipped all the way forward. My feet folded underneath me, and, like, right in the middle of my back, it just cracked. Like, I looked like the top of a pretzel. And I got up, and my back was like, just waves of pain right in the middle of it. I was like, oh, my God. And, so I went upstairs, and I popped, like, 3 ibuprofen and sucked it down with some water. And then we went down. We walked to Bar Louie because I was like, all right, if it's cold out, it might. Because I wasn't like sloppy drunk. Sure. I wasn't like, how can you do a handstand? When I say I was drunk, I mean like I was tipsy. You know what I mean? The alcohol.
You had courage.
The alcohol had taken effect, and I was a very courageous young man.
Right.
Because I can't dance, dude. Like I can't do all this crap now. The only thing I can do is the Bernie, because all you do is stand there, like walk like you're dead. It's very easy to do, and it's fun for guys like me.
You got the Bernie down.
Because they were doing what's the Cupid
shuffle?
Cupid shuffle, and then you're turning around, and then there was like the one where you're like you do the and these girls are like doing
what's
it
that
perfect.
One, Haley? The wobble.
Doing the wobble, yeah.
There you go.
I can't do it. And they were like spinning around. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? I can't do this. So yeah, man, I about broke my back.
Dude, I can do the wobble.
I about broke my back. I don't know.
I'm 50 years old and I can do the wobble.
I don't know if you can do the wobble.
I can do the wobble
as good as these girls are doing the wobble.
I probably couldn't. I've got.
I mean, because some of these chicks,
soul in me.
They've got some rhythm, man. Like, and I know.
I
just didn't.
Do the wobble.
Oh shoot! I just hit the mic. I'm sorry, folks.
So
yeah, I feel like a little
Haley
little
can teach you how. My daughter Haley can teach you how to do the wobble.
I'm not in a wobble.
Actually,
I'm not in a wobble
to be honest
mood, Haley.
with you, I got the dancing moves in this family. Haley, I've watched Haley.
And then there was the
she's just pretty.
The one I can do. Because they tell you what to do. He's like, right foot, 2 steps. You know what I mean? Like, if you give me directions, but if you're just like, do the wobble, shake your butt, turn around. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, they're just rapping the whole time, and you're like, all right, what am I supposed to do? There's a gyration that goes on that I can't.
See, those deals were put together so guys stand behind beautiful women, and they check them out. That's how it all got started.
I can't get my ass and my hips to sync with my chest and my shoulders.
It's kind of funny when you see
Can't do it. They operate independently of one another.
The electric slide or some of the ones that have been around for a long time.
Can't really do that one either. I just follow everybody else.
The old people. Now, granted, I'm 50 now, but I don't consider myself old. It's when you see the 65 and 70-year-old guys out there that got their pure white hair all greased back, right. and they're out there trying to hit it up with some 22-year. I give them credit though, you know. I just.
And they played Sheriff last night. Remember that song from the 80s?
Slow one? When I'm with you. Oh my God.
And well, see, we had a cool DJ last night though, because some of these dudes out
didn't
here.
Have me, so.
And if you're a DJ and you're listening to this, screw you if you're the guy that I request something and you think it's corny and all you want to do is play shake your ass music all night. No, screw you. You're getting paid to do a job. If I request friggin'
here's the deal.
If I request the Pledge of Allegiance, I've been
DJing for 30 years.
Right.
Okay, now I'm just going to tell you what can happen in that situation.
Okay, you tell me.
All right, you're a little pissed off, but I understand. You didn't didn't play your song.
No, you said it. You said it. You tell me. You tell me.
There are times where the bride and groom make it very clear that no one is to request music except them, and where they don't want anybody to know that, and where they want it to be, like if you get somebody that comes up and asks for something, 2 or 3 times, that he has to go over and talk to the bride and groom. Hey, that goofy guy over there that fell on his back and had everybody laughing.
See, that's a cop-out, though.
Wants to hear...
Screw those bride and grooms. Screw
I'm
them.
just telling you how it
Screw
goes.
them.
But they're paying, dude. They're paying.
If you-
What was the song you wanted to hear?
Well,
Oh, he played your song.
Well, no, this guy was cool. He played everybody because, like I said, my buddy's stepmom, her son Matt's like my age,
Right.
And he's a cool dude and big into music and stuff. And he had a couple of drinks. He's like, dude, what's that one song by Sheriff and the ABs? He's like, that baby, yeah. He's like, it's a good song. And so we looked it up on her iPhone, and I was like, oh, it's When I'm With You, and he played it. But you get some of these DJs. They got their list going. They're like, all right, I want to get the crowd.
No, half of
it's
them,
like a control thing.
I know, sure.
I want to put on this song, and I want to hold my headphone like Mr. Joe Cool with my little laptop, and I want to see everybody bouncing up and down. And it's like, I know that as a DJ, your job is to get the people to move.
Right.
But if you are a wedding DJ, you play the stuff that people ask for.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And a couple weddings ago, at my cousin Lindsay's wedding, which was a beautiful wedding, but this guy thought he was a little too into his craft. And, like, I went up there, and my mom went up there, and, like, our family song is David Bowie and Queen, Under Pressure. Not the Vanilla Ice remake.
I know what you're saying.
But the original Under Pressure. It's
That's...
an awesome friggin' song. And the reason it's our family song is because at a family party, like 5, almost 6 years ago now, on Memorial Day, everybody came over to our house. My mom and my stepdad, and I live there too. Screw it. If you don't like me because I live at home, screw you, okay? I work my ass off. I'm doing my best I can. I'm getting my feet wet. And maybe that's just a stigma. I'll just digress here for a minute. Maybe that's just pressure I put on myself because there's a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds who had to move back home because they're poor like me. But I'm not lazy. I don't sit around and smoke pot and play video games all day. I do work hard. I digress. But anyway, so, they live in the country, Michigan. There's a big pond. It's a nice place. There's a patio on the back. My stepdad worked his ass off at Jeep for years and years and years to build his dream house. It's a beautiful home. So people come. And it's not a mansion. It's just a ranch house, just a cool little, it's got a big basement, but there's a nice patio on the back, and there's a big pond. And so everybody comes and chills in the summer. We have a couple of hangouts, like on the 4th or Memorial Day, and everybody was over, and my mom put that song on. My stepdad's like an electrical engineer. He's very good mechanically, loves that shit, hooked up the stuff all the way through the house. It sounds amazing. And my grandpa started dancing with the girls in the kitchen. And my grandpa, I loved, man, I mean, he's dead, but he's still alive to me every day. I love you, Gramp. And he started dancing, and he was, like, dancing with, like, a hot dog and, like, did, like, a shot and threw it in the sink. We have a video of it on Facebook.
Uh-huh.
So that became, like, our family song.
Right.
And we requested it at this wedding, and then I think my mom requested some police stuff, and the guy just kind of looked at her like, yeah, whatever, I might get to it. It's like, no, screw you, dude, all right? You are here, you're getting paid to do a job, all right? And I know that my cousin and Jared they're not the type that
they couldn't care less.
Hey, if anybody requests anything, just kind of ignore them because we want to play the stuff that we want to. No, they want people to have a good time. And this guy was kind of acting like, oh, well, that's not hot right now, girl. So we gonna play this stuff. And it's like, no. Listen, buddy, you're not DJ Khaled, okay?
Right.
Then you can be Mr. Joe Cool and demand whatever. But you're at a wedding in Toledo, bro. You know what I mean? I'm gonna start using bros now because you're on that level to me now. You're a bro to me now. You are a bro to me. If you're not gonna be cool, you are a bro. And so I'm gonna throw the bros at you because I don't say what's up, bro, because it's lame, And so I don't like that. So if you're a DJ out there and you think you're Mr. Joe Cool and you don't take requests at weddings, like that's stupid.
Right.
Like what kind of service is that? And who are the bride and grooms that you're talking about out there that want to mind control? No, we want to play these songs and like that's. You know what? People get too into this wedding stuff, man. Right. It's one freaking day. I want to have a blast at my wedding. You know what I mean? I think there's so much because it's all over TV. You got the Bridezilla show,
right?
And you got.
I was on Bridezilla. I have been on Bridezilla.
Are you serious?
Yes, I swear to God.
Somebody from here was on Bridezilla.
Megan Stevens got married. They got married down in Nazareth Hall, and I was the DJ and video person for that wedding. And it was it was pretty wild. I was on Bridezilla.
I just think there's too much. So I don't. But so the DJ last night was cool because he was taking requests. Like I asked him to play the Bernie. You know what I mean? And I was kind of drunk, so when it didn't come on, I was like, dude, you better play the Bernie. And then he played the Bernie. It was fun. My dad got out there. I was like, Dad, because my dad's like, Dad. I'm like, Dad, you got a couple Manhattans in you. This is very easy. This is all you have to do is act like you're dead. You remember the movie Weekend at Bernie's? That's all it is. It's funny. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's got a nice little beat to it. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm requesting like Machine Head Imperium.
Right.
You know
but
what
you
I mean?
get a lot of those.
I mean,
or a ton of Metallica at a wedding. There's not a lot of Metallica you can play at a wedding. I've got every Metallica song there is, but you're only going to play that if you don't have a dance crowd going.
Time and place.
And so
Time
the Dwyers with Tropic Bombs.
Yes.
I have DJ'd every event for that family in the past, 12, 13 years.
By the way, Once Over's working on a new album. I believe it's going to be called White Raven. So just go to Google, type in Once Over Toledo.
Yep. And their song, it's kind of like yours, is Walk Like a Dinosaur.
Yeah.
By Was Not Was.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, aka boom.
Yeah.
You play. I've got it. I couldn't play that song anywhere, but if I don't play that at a Dwyer event, I'm a dead man.
Does their dad have a white beard?
He's a real big guy. He actually reminds me. Do you remember the Drew Carey show?
Yes.
Drew's big brother, who was like he always wore the girls' clothes and everything.
Vaguely. Okay. Yes.
Real big, huge guy.
Yeah.
That's John Looks. That's
okay.
He's big. He's big like me.
Those dudes are super cool. Man.
One of the best families I've ever had the pleasure of knowing.
But you're right, because like I'm a super metalhead, but there's certain stuff that doesn't translate. You can't play.
Right.
You can't play One by Metallica at a wedding. But all I'm saying is.
I have.
Have you?
Oh
One?
yeah. Oh yeah. But it's in a scenario where
you had a lot of people there that wanted it.
Yeah, and they weren't really it wasn't a dance night, and you knew it. You went into it knowing, okay, this isn't a dance night. So you're going to be playing a lot of Pink Floyd. You're going to be playing a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're going to be, and the guys are out there just showing their guns to everybody. Check this out.
Yeah.
It's a weird night, but it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, so that's all. You know what I mean? Like, just don't. If I can give any advice to anybody New Year, work your butt off.
Yep.
Be good to people, but don't take yourself too seriously.
And don't steal music. If you're going to be a DJ, do whatever. I've been a DJ since 1978. Okay, I've been through the records. I've been through 8-track tapes. I've been through cassettes. I've been through CDs, and now I have probably one of the biggest libraries on disc now, and I paid for it.
Yeah.
Don't steal your damn music and then go out there and say, "Well, I'll just do it for $50." It ruins the business. If you're going to do it, go out there and do it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go out there, get the licensing, do it the way you're supposed to do it, and then do exactly what Mike says. If somebody asks you to play a song, at least ask the bride and groom.
Right.
I mean, at least ask them. Don't just because you didn't want to.
And I wish I could give this dude a plug last night because he was really cool. He was fun. He got the crowd into it. Because last night it was a very small wedding.
Uh-huh.
There was only a handful of young people there, so the dance floor wasn't like popping. Right. You know what I mean? Which is why I felt it was my civic duty as a drinker of Jameson and ginger ale to get out there with my blood nice and warm from the Irishman. To get out there,
you did my namesake good,
and do what I had to do to get that party popping, and I got it popping, baby. We didn't have a whole lot of lawbreakers up in that house last night, but I tell you what, there were laws that were broken before the end of the night.
I think I'm going to go out now. I think I'm going to go out and buy me a bottle of Jameson's. I turn 50 years old tomorrow.
Do you really?
50 years old, and we're taping this in
Mike Jameson's 50. Everybody.
I don't feel 50. I feel like my life is just getting ready to start now. So I think I'm going to go buy me a nice big bottle of Jameson's. That'll be my birthday present, and get drunk.
Will you at least do me a favor and try it with ginger ale? Please.
I
know you're old school. I know you like to drink it straight on the rocks, and that'll put hair on your chest. It will.
I don't need any more hair. I'm shaving it now.
It'll be.
I want that new Flowbee thing.
You should shave a 50 in it.
No, they got that new thing. It's like a laser beam for $20.
Yeah, but you know.
And it laser beams it off, so then I can have that beautiful shiny chest.
Is that for real though?
I don't know.
I don't know if
I don't want to be the bear. I'm not a bear kind of guy.
Isn't that something chicks do, like laser stuff off and get like bikini waxes and stuff?
Yeah.
Kudos to them, dude.
Yeah,
I don't want anybody waxing my junk.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Who the hell is on this week?
Anyway,
we're 25 minutes into this thing.
This is part 2. Well, dude, there's a lot of stuff that happened.
I know,
man.
but we got to watch those decrepit Wolverines play football here in a little while.
You might. I don't want to lose any of the fan base on Bauman's Breakdown.
That's you.
Which, by the way, you can subscribe to Bauman's Breakdown free on iTunes.
Do you get one of them Flobies where it electronically takes the hair off your body? See, that would be a great way for you to get subscribers.
Yeah.
Give away things that'll take hair off their body electronically.
Okay, well, maybe when I start making some big boy money, we can give away free stuff. When I start making that
free Flobies.
When I start making that Adam Carolla money, you know what I mean?
Where's he at now?
He's the podcast king.
I know. He's podcast.
He's the podcast king, bro.
He actually uses this. That's what he uses.
He's a cool dude, man.
Yeah, Adam Carolla's good.
He's a cool dude.
So's Jimmy. Kimmel's good too. He's moving to 11:30 now.
You know who else is a cool dude?
Who's that?
Doc Coyle. And this is really what we're here for today. For part 2 of my conversation with Doc Coyle, who, as I've said, and I know I say that about everybody. Obviously, I'm not really going to have an interview on here if the guy was a complete jerk, unless it was just wildly entertaining, and their PR person gave me permission.
Well, this is wildly entertaining, but he's cool.
But yes, Doc Coyle, definitely one of the most down to earth people that I don't know on a personal level. You know what I mean? Somebody
Sure.
that I talked to and was just incredibly nice, friendly, cordial, and I can't tell you how awesome it is when you do an interview and it's just a conversation and it's not dun dun wah wah wah. It's not Charlie Brown's teacher. You know what I'm saying? And this dude was awesome. And part 2 of our conversation that you guys are about to hear here in a few brief minutes is about the new album Equilibrium, which just came out in 2012 because it is 2013 now. And it's by far my favorite record of 2012. Every track on there is amazing. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I am a fan of heavier music and metal music, but they really made front to back a great record. There's not one song on there that there's not a thought process behind it, intricate musicianship, I mean, and they're not, and that's not to say they're not playing like math problems on here. It's not like, super complicated, like, I don't want you to think like I'm like, what am I looking for here? It's great musicianship, but it's not stuff that you're going to listen to and go, where are they going with this? Like, the songs are tight. There's grooves. There's riffs. There's melody. There's anger. Like, every emotion is tied up into this record, and I wanted to get the scoop on this record. I wanted to get the story behind what went into the thought process and the songwriting, because every song is so good and is so meaningful. And it's not... Metal often gets labeled as this music that is like this heavy, just downer, my life is terrible and I want to wear black and the world sucks. And I mean, heavy metal people, look at the, the guy, who's the guy that he just got released, Damien Eccles. I believe I'm saying his name correctly. You're familiar with that story, right? The West Memphis 3, those guys back in like 95 that got framed for murdering like a couple of young, I think it was like 2 young boys, and none of their DNA or anything. They basically got thrown under the bus by Big Brother because in their town they were like the outcasts. They were like metalheads and wore different clothes, and they tried to say that this was like some satanic killing that they did. This dude spent all these years, just got out of prison recently, was on death row, Mike. And because in modern science and technology, they were able to get him the hell out of there. I mean, he was on Jay Moore's podcast. It was an incredible conversation. Check out Jay Moore, more stories for sure. But the reason that he got out of jail was because there was such an uprising amongst a lot of different musicians. Eddie Vedder would go visit him in jail. He's a huge activist. Disturbed made a song called 3. I mean, it was an incredible story, and
it just stuff like that. I'm trying to think of what I'm looking for here. Forgive me, I'm a little tipsy still. But what I'm trying to say is that, you know, there's metal is it's a brotherhood. You know what I mean? And it's that was an example. That's where I was going with that. I'm coming back full circle. That story of the West Memphis 3 was a perfect example of how this group of dudes got labeled as like these satanic killers, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that they were more metal guys, and in their small town, they were the outcasts, you know, and metal, I believe it was Corey Taylor who said, you know, it's kind of labeled as like the redheaded stepchild of music, and it's still seen as like this dark, evil thing and devil horns and all that, and it's not like that. A lot of the metal music that's come out within the last several years there's a very uplifting message to it. And it's certainly a lot of the stuff that I've been listening to lately, and Doc and I talk about that. But Equilibrium is an example of a record that is uplifting. It's heavy, it's got thrash in it, it's got grooves, it's got heavy riffs, but there's a great story behind it, and it's uplifting. And so, you know, when you see real life stuff like that, like what happened with Damien Echols, and I hope I'm saying his name right. Forgive me if I'm saying it wrong. You know, but that's an example of literally how a guy just got labeled for murder, for crying out loud. And so it's crazy to me. But, you know, Doc was very gracious, as I said. We talked about, the last part one was, as you guys heard, if you listened to it, was more of the backstory of God Forbid, how they got into music, how they became a band. And now part two, we fast forward to like 2009, 2010 on the Earthsblood cycle. That was my first exposure to these guys live down in Dayton with my buddy Chad and my other buddy Dave, when God Forbid was playing with Shadows Fall and Five Finger Death Punch on tour. So part two, now you're going to hear about kind of the time from that point on to the band till now, and Equilibrium. So without further ado, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to have a couple of sips of water, and you guys are going to get part two of my conversation with Doc Coyle from God Forbid. Here it is. Transitioning and maybe even fast forwarding a little bit to like towards the end of the decade, that was like my first exposure to you guys live was I think it was 2010, and it was at McGuffey's in Dayton, and it was Death Punch and Shadows Fall, and then you guys, because I think it originally Throwdown, something happened. I think there was like a family emergency or something, and I remember you guys, we went down to the show and you guys came on, and I remember looking at my buddy Dave and looking at Chad, and like I said, that was my first exposure to you guys. And I'm like, damn, I'm like, they've got like groove hooks, and then there's thrash, and then they're just shredding the shit out of the guitar, and Byron was up there like screaming. I was like, why have I not seen this before? I was like, oh my God, you know. And so that was kind of like my first exposure to you guys, and I think that was like I think it was like Earthsblood. I think that may have been the cycle at that time, but yeah, kind of at that point in the band, it was I think Matt was with you guys at that point, wasn't he?
Yeah, Matt had joined like the year before.
Yeah, can you kind of talk about the state of God Forbid at that time, and like if you don't want to get into too much of the personal stuff, it's cool because obviously it's your brother in Dallas, but from everything I've read, it just kind of seemed like he kind of got kind of burned out on the touring cycle, and he wanted to start a family, and I think a lot of people on the outside looking in kind of they do kind of romanticize sort of that quote unquote rock star lifestyle, when really it's like it's really not all that romantic. Like you're living in a bus, you're playing a show basically every day.
You're living in a bus.
Or a van. But I think. Can you kind of talk about where you guys were at that point? Because the stuff that you guys were playing, like I said, I watched you guys, and I was like, damn, why have I not heard more of this before?
Well, Dallas, left under really strange circumstances. We were starting, Earthsblood had just come out, and we did a European tour, and he was basically having, him and his wife were having issues, and he was just kind of an emotional wreck, and we got in an argument, and he basically was like, I'm not coming on tour. You know, like, and we were doing a tour of Lamb of God that started in 5 days, and it was, you know, and so we had to find a replacement. It was really, you know, we ended up getting Chris North from the Darkest Hour to fill in on, you know, last minute notice. You know, but that was, you know, kind of, you know, pivotal time in my life, you know, because I was, you know, I really believed in that album. I really, you know, we had that, we had the Lamb of God tour, we had a really killer European tour, doing festivals, we had Mayhem Fest, we had all these great opportunities. You know, so I was really determined to make it work, you know. You know, and I didn't think that, I almost, you know, I was so angry at my brother for that whole summer, you know, that I didn't really deal with it. We were out, and then basically at the end of Mayhem Festival, like, we split with our manager, my girlfriend broke up with me, and then it hit me that, like, my brother had split the band. So I was on tour the whole time. I never had to, like, really think about it, you know.
Right, you could escape from dealing with it, yeah, because you had the shows and everything.
Yeah, so then at the end of Mayhem, I kind of had just a meltdown, you know, and then I got the Lamb of God gig. So I thought then, you know, in between that, I was trying to, like, get my girlfriend back, and I ended up going out with Lamb of God. That's obviously a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You know, it was touring with Metallica. But it's unfortunate because it happened at a time that I was in a really kind of bad place mentally. Yes, I really couldn't enjoy it. I really wanted to be one. It was a really great experience. You know, and then after that, I really wasn't sure if I wanted to, you know, keep going with the band. You know, because I was looking at the personal cost of, you know, perhaps the lifestyle trying to maybe cost me my relationship, and you know, I just wasn't really sure, you know, and so we ended up getting that 5 Days Up Punch tour kind of last minute. Like we originally thought we were getting that tour, and then they ended up giving us a throwdown, and we were kind of pissed off or whatever, and then last minute they're on to us, so we ended up doing that tour. And, you know, during that time, you know, we started jamming a little bit, and really Matt, you know, he was writing, he was showing me some material, and, you know, I was, like, really super bummed out and really depressed, you know, I'm more depressed than I've ever been, really going through a rough time, and that kind of, you know, jamming with him, you know, kind of jamming with the band a little bit, really kind of got me fired up a little bit and got me inspired. And I was like, all right, man, fuck it, I'll do another album, you know, and I was like, and so it was like this whole, you know, that process, we didn't have a manager, our deal with Century Media had ended, so that whole 2010 was really like getting the house in order, like getting a manager, getting a label, you know, so we were writing, you know, and I was doing another project. I started writing for, like, a more rock project with this guy, Tommy Dext. I was working on that and working on About the New Thing at the same time. But, you know, eventually we found a manager, and did some demo, you know, the demo, and all the, you know, kind of led into the next year. And then, you know, we signed the deal with Victory last summer, like a year and a half ago. And, yeah, you know, and I'm, you know, really, really proud of Equilibrium. You know, I think it's, you know, if it's not our best album, there's things that we do on it better than any other Good album. I think Matt, you know, brought some fresh blood and some really just, yeah, I mean, fresh is the right word. It just feels, you know, sometimes you got to shake things up a little bit. And, yeah, I'm really, really proud of the album.
Well, you should be, man. I mean, congrats on Equilibrium, dude, because, I mean, I listen to that, and every time now, and I'm not saying this to like kiss your ass or anything, because I'm, you know, I mean, I appreciate the time, but I'm also somebody that's like, you know, I am somebody that's honest, and I'm being honest when I say, like, that record is like, it's a really good record. Every time I listen to Equilibrium, I have to listen to it front to back. because I don't think out of all the 13 tracks that you guys have on there, there really is not one weak track. So I mean, for real, man. Like I said, I'm not just saying that either. I that album is by far one of my favorite from this year, and it might be my favorite from this year, just because I feel like so many bands, like, you get kind of like what we were talking about, you sort of get these collectives and then you get these niche bands, and I feel like you guys really, through all the stuff that you guys have been through, you've had your sound, and I think on this one, to go more melodic the way you guys did, and then to have some of the djenty type of riffs, and Don't Tell Me What to Dream, like that to me was like the perfect opener for the CD, because it just hits you in the teeth. You're like, holy shit, like, and then it just goes into the more melodic stuff, and it comes back, like, it flows really well, man. It really does.
Thank you. You know, I mean, we always kind of painted with a broad brush, you know, and kind of trying to cover a lot of ground. Like I could never be in a band like, you know, Hatebreed, where they pretty much, you know, I love Hatebreed. Like, I love listening to them, but I don't know if I could be in a band like that, where it's kind of, where you're hitting one note, you know. You know, we cover a lot of ground, and it's kind of like, I think it's upsides and downsides to being a diverse band. I think sometimes, you know, I guess it can be perceived that you're trying to, like, cater to everyone, which is not the idea. It's just that, personally, I'm into a lot of things, so I need to, you know, musically, I want to do a lot of things and hear a lot of things for me to stay interested in an album or a song. And I like, you know, to me, like I said, my favorite bands were Metallica, Pantera, you know, and they had those bands that had ballads, they'd have a thrash song, they'd have a groove song. They really, you know, there were peaks and valleys to an album.
Yeah.
You know, I guess, you know, and that's, you know, you can go that route, you can go like the Rain and Blood route, which is like, you know, just pummeling you for a half hour, you know, which is great. You know, that was like more like our first couple of records, which were just more in your face and you know, just sprawling intensity, you know. But you know, you get a little age on you, and the tape can slow down, rock out for a little bit, stick around for a while.
It's still, you know, it still bothers me, Doc, when people slam Metallica for Load and Reload, because there's some great stuff on there. Like really, like, my favorite Metallica song of all time is probably Bleeding Me, because it kind of took more of a personal meaning for me, because like my senior year of high school, like 7 years ago, I had this really weird tumor, and like I just started bleeding like a stuffed pig one day, like after basketball practice, and my nose started bleeding. I never had a nosebleed in my life, and I just, you know, I was a 17-year-old dude. I was like, whatever, it's nosebleed. Like, I snorted up some water and it stopped, and then like the next day, by the end of the day, like, I had bright red blood coming out of my nose, kind of like a slow drip from a faucet. And my mom's a nurse, and like I saw her look at it, and I still remember to this day, dude, like I had like it was bleeding, it was like nonstop, and I hated like leaning my head back, because eventually when all that blood goes down your throat, like, it starts to make you sick. So I was just literally like sitting up and like pinching my nose with a cloth and just spitting out like little blood clots. And my mom came home and she was like, Mike, she had a flashlight, and I remember like almost laughing. She was like, Mike, I really want to look at it and see what's up. And I was like, Mom, dude, you're not going to be able to see anything. And I pulled it away, and and that's when it like freaked me out, because it came out like a slow drip from a faucet, and it was just steady, and I was like, oh my God. But anyway, I had this surgery, and it was kind of like one of those moments in life where that's when I started to kind of look at life through a little bit different lens, and not be such like a worrier and everything. But anyway, but so Bleeding Me, even though lyrically I know that it's not talking about me, like that song to me, like what he's talking about in that song, like it just really hit home with me. So it drives me nuts when people kill Metallica for getting away from the thrash, because I really think that there's some great stuff on those records for sure.
Well, I think I agree. I like Load more than Reload, but there's also really good songs on Reload. You know, I'm just a Metallica fan. You know, I mean, the only album I don't really like is Saint Anger, because I don't really think they put the work in. You know?
Yeah.
It just seems lazy. You know.
But But for you guys, what I liked about Equilibrium, you mentioned kind of the peaks and valleys. Where did sort of the genty stuff come from? Was that just stuff that like you and Matt were listening to? Because I mean, I really liked that aspect to a few of those songs. I thought it was cool.
Well, it's really, see, people don't know this, so both of them is The Dream and the instrumental Awakening, which are that kind of the only two songs with that vibe.
Right, yeah,
Those actually originally were the same song.
Oh, okay.
So, and then when we were recording it with Jason Sukoff, when the producer suggested that we split them up, because we didn't want to have that song, Both Those Dreams, first, and then kind of have like this like mellow kind of we just wanted to like have it just be intense for 3 minutes. But that was like the funny thing about the whole Genki thing was, I do listen to some of those bands. I was inspired to write that song because of a song, the last album. So we have the song "Bat the Angels" from Earthsblood.
Yeah.
And the end of the song uses tuning, which is and there's like like that kind of tunes are like G and like super low tuning and like the single notes. And I was like, the next album I'm going to use that tuning, but I'm going to write a whole song like that. That's where it came from. I wasn't really inspired by those bands. I was really inspired because my brother wrote that song. So I was more, my brother kind of inspired me from a previous song. It's funny. And so even though I like those bands, that really wasn't where it was coming from. Even though it's kind of, there's no way around being it perceived that way, I guess. So, I don't know, because, like, I really like those, especially Periphery and Tesseract, bands like that, because at least there are some of the few newer bands I thought were actually bringing some melody back into, the really heavy stuff, because it just seemed like everything has been, like, deathcore.
Yeah.
For a while, and then kind of like more on the mainstream side, like bands like Asking Alexandria and stuff like that. They're kind of bringing melody, but I'm not really, musically, it's not really my thing. Even, I'm not really shitting on those bands or anything, but it's more, I think that, it's a little more youth-driven in terms of what, those bands' demographic and stuff. So, but yeah, but what we were doing, in our group and some of like the gent stuff is just, like I said, it's to bring some melody. There's obviously a high level of musical ability, which is something that, was always apparent to what we were doing. So, yeah, I think that's the connection, but I don't know. Influence is weird. I don't find myself writing a lot of stuff like that, but whatever works,
Lyrically, I really like the record too, and a lot of the bands that I don't know if I'm just noticing it because a lot of the bands that I listen to kind of have this element to it, but what I really liked about Equilibrium and what I've kind of been noticing in the bands that I listen to is just, a lot of people who don't know metal and don't get it kind of slam it for sort of just being this loud doom and gloom, everybody worships the devil and all this crap, but it's like you guys had a real Equilibrium is like an uplifting record. Like lyrically, there's struggle in there and there's darkness, but there's always sort of that. It after you get done listening to a song, like I listen to it feeling like more empowered. It doesn't leave me like, oh, I want to go beat somebody up, or I want to go jump around in a mosh pit like a crazy person. Like it's one of those records that it's like I headbang to it, but it's not. It's an uplifting record, and so lyrically, I wanted to ask you about that as well. Did that just kind of come out of all of the stuff that you were going through as well? Is that kind of what you brought to the table?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a tough time in between records, not knowing if we were going to make another record or not knowing what was really going to happen. I think, at least, Byron, I think a lot of his lyrics were coming from a place of frustration frustration and a place of not, just we're still questioning whether we're still going to be able to do what we've done, in terms of our careers. So, I think that the thing for us has always kind of lyrically to come from a real place. But this album in particular was like, almost pretty much everything was personal. There's very few lyrics or songs in the album where it was like, we were talking about something external or someone else. So, like, I wrote the lyrics for 3 songs, and I think Brian wrote everything else. And, for me, it was just all about trying to find whatever inner truth was going on. I wrote This Is Who I Am, which is about that struggle to be an artist and what that means to me, and live that lifestyle. And, because, people, I'm not in the best position in terms of, financially and kind of in terms of that stuff, but people still come up to me and like, don't stop, keep doing what you're doing, because, they're inspired by that, that someone can go out and kind of follow their dreams, and perhaps, they chose a different path, so that's all about that struggle. I wrote Move On, where I wrote, and that's really about, a relationship I had that went bad, and, fought from that, and, trying to get past something, stuff that I think everyone goes through, but having it be truthful to me, so that when you get there and you have to sing about it, that it's actually something that's important to you,
Yeah. And I think on this record too, like, you guys really hit the trifecta, like, in terms of, you had a record that was catchy, you had a record that every song was good, and you also had a record that had a lot of like meaning in there. And I think that's why I liked it so much, is because it's just, you guys really hit the nail on the head for sure.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, dog's barking.
No, it's cool, man. I wanted to ask you about the artwork for Equilibrium too, because it's I've been trying to figure it out. I don't know if there's like a certain meaning behind it, but like the clock and like the kind of the dual face dude and like the hands, like can you kind of talk about that? Like, is there a story behind the artwork?
It's kind of hard for me to explain personally, because a lot of it, there's a lot of layering there. I think it has to do with, there's like the clock. Pretty much exactly what you're explaining, but keep in mind, there was actually some different versions of the cover, and I actually voted on a different cover. Like, I like the album art, and I love the artist guy Gustavo who did it. I wanted something a little more simplistic, but Gustavo was great. I kind of, he's, for him, it has to have a lot of meaning. I try to talk to my nerves. Hold on a second. Stop barking. Dogs are weird. They're barking at nothing.
Maybe there's a ghost, man. There's ghosts around.
All I know is a UPS check-in.
What kind of dog is it?
I don't know. One big old one and one little, I don't know what kind of dog there is, to be honest. I'm sitting at my family's house, so.
Oh, let's go.
I don't know what kind of dogs, but they're nice. But they don't really bark, that's why I'm a little perplexed. Anyway, sorry about that.
No, it's cool, man.
But Gustavo is really, and for him, he wants, like, before he does the artwork, he wants to hear the music, he wants to copy the lyrics, and all that goes into what he creates, and he wants to be inspired by that, and to have symbolism, and the thing about the album title, that's exactly what I it means exactly what it says, you know, just finding balance, you know, and that's always something you're going to be striving for, you know, at all times. You know, it doesn't end, you know, so there's not a lot of intellectualizing behind it. It's just, that's all it is, you know, and I like the idea to keep it simple.
Yeah, and do you feel like this album now, after sort of the uncertainty and all the rough spots that you guys went through, I mean, did this kind of feel like sort of like a shot in the arm or a rebirth for you guys? Because then you went from this album coming out and doing some touring, and then you got on Trespass America Festival, which I really thought, I wish I would have got a chance to go to it. I think the closest it came to me was Battle Creek, and I think I was working or something, but I really liked the tour setup because I really thought it was sort of a good collection of everything that's going on in metal right now. Like there was people from all ends of the spectrum. You had like Amur, God forbid. Then you even had Pop Evil, who's like hard rock. Like I really liked the collection of that. What was it like, sort of this album cycle, and then going into a lineup like Trespass?
It was great. I mean, it's definitely in terms of the type of touring we wanted to do and the size of the tour and the people we wanted to play in front of, was definitely the peak, you know, of the touring cycle, you know, and it was the right tour, I think, especially for the record that we made. You know, we didn't make we didn't make some extreme crazy album, but like it's pretty, you know, it's a tuneful record. You know, we tried to write hooks, you know, and it's still metal, it's still heavy, but it's you know, that's where our heads were at right now. It was a great tour. You know, we couldn't really ask for much more. I don't know. You know, right now we're actually probably not going to be touring for a little bit. I think, you know, there's just the realities of you know, how it is for a band of our level. You know, it just gets more and more difficult. You know, if the circumstances aren't right from a you know, from a financial standpoint. So I think that's something we're kind of dealing with. We'll see what happens. You know, but it's definitely getting tougher. You know.
Didn't John just get married recently too?
He was supposed to, and then they pushed it back a little bit. So
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's gonna.
Okay.
There's a new date or whatever, but his fiance is from the UK.
Okay.
So it's a lot of like red tape with immigration and paperwork, and apparently it's a very, very, very in-depth process and lengthy. So.
Man, I thought you were gonna tell me something bad happened. I was like, Jesus, I hope I didn't just bring up like something awful, like they broke up or something. You're like, well, actually, she called the wedding off at the last minute, and okay.
So I think she's gonna be moving here pretty soon. I think they wanted to sort that stuff out first before actually getting married. So yeah, I think it's all good.
Looking back on sort of the time that you guys have had, and thanks again, man, for taking so much of your time today, dude. I really do appreciate it. But looking back on sort of just everything that you guys have gone through and where you're at now, and you mentioned kind of the realities of touring and just being sort of a working class band, because I know you guys all still hold down like 9 to 5s too, right?
Some of us, I don't have a job. I bartend on the weekends and teach guitar here and there and kind of do what I can, but I need another job. So I've been looking for stuff now that I'm home. So
are there any tours or anything that any really like memorable moments that stick out to you where you really felt like that little kid who was like back in his bedroom jamming on your guitar and like dreaming of like being on the stage? Like, has there ever been like a tour moment or like a moment where you got to meet one of your idols that you were like starstruck, or like having had almost like 20 years at this now with God forbid, are there anything that in particular sticks out to you?
I mean, that Ozfest tour I talked about before, I really, we're literally on tour with the history of heavy metal, you know. You can't really do much better than that. I remember that first night, me and Mark Morton from Lamb of God were just watching Black Sabbath. We're just looking at each other and we just, cheers our beers together and like, yo, man, can't believe, we started playing and we literally, first time we played it was in a basement, in front of, or in a garage. It's kind of like, one person, so the fact that we had taken it from that place to that place was pretty hard to believe, and it was a long tour, like two months, so you really got to experience that for quite some time. That was phenomenal. Doing the Metallica thing, that's basically my dream. That's my all-time favorite band.
Were they cool guys?
They were the best guys. They rented out. I was on the tour for 3 weeks, but so we played in Montreal. They did two nights, and they rented out a bar restaurant just for the bands to hang out. And they invited everyone for like an after show, and it was us, Lamb of God guys, Metallica, Gojira, and and some miscellaneous people from the crew, and they just wined us and dined us all night, and basically hung out till like 5 in the morning, and just basically did it as just a gesture to get to know the bands on the tour and carve out a specific time to hang out, which is, you gotta understand, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
Like, bands just don't do that. Some bands hang out, some don't, but the fact that it's actually important to them that they bond with the bands on tour with says a lot about their character. And they would, sit down and talk to you, look you in the eye, and actually care about what you have to say. And I was, I'll never forget that, I went out to the Orion Fest, I got there and I saw James and I was talking to him, and it's like, it's still surreal, either way you look at it, it's one band you talk to, and you definitely, even though, on some level you're a peer, I am having toured with them and stuff, it still doesn't feel like that. There's still the, in their own stratosphere, and there's for me, there's always going to be that reverence, so yeah, that was special, and I'll never forget that.
Now, before I let you go, too, I got to ask you about hoops a little bit, because I know you're a big basketball guy, and you're a Knicks fan, right?
Yeah.
You're a big Knicks guy? So is the 8 points, 9 seconds thing, is that still etched in your memory?
Oh, yeah, like someone, I was tweeting about that, like the Knicks just played the Lakers, and the Knicks were up by like 26 points. And it's like, it was wrapped up. They were like at halftime. They're like, oh, this game is wrapped up. And I was like, you guys are crazy. That scars you. It's like getting beaten as a child.
It's
like post-traumatic stress. Like you're never like settled. You're always thinking that something could happen. So that changed you.
I gotta be honest. I thought that they should have kept Lynn. Like, I was like, man, I just feel like this kid he created a spark in New York. And then I know when Carmelo came back, it was, they're two completely different types of players in terms of just how they play and like what works best for them. And I know that that's like their franchise guy. And I was like, and then people were talking about the contract, and I was like, but did you see what Darko got paid for, by Minnesota? I was like, because people, I feel like, always do that. They always look at the free agency numbers in any sport, and they're like, wow, that's such a big number. But when you think about it, like, most guys, unless they're like a mid-level exception guy, they always get overpaid. But it turns out they made the right decision. And Mike Woodson, I'm a huge Pistons guy. He was on the staff with Larry Brown when they won it back in 2004, and I always always liked him as a defensive coach. I think in Atlanta he just didn't have like the right crop of guys for the type of style that he plays. But so far, man, I think New York looks legit. New York looks legit right now. Everybody's talking about how they're going to suck when our Amari comes back, but I was even reading a thing you wrote on Metal Sucks about it, and I'm kind of with you. I don't really see how a guy who can average like 20-8 on any other team, or 25-8 even when he was in Phoenix, how him coming back is really going to hurt the Knicks. I think it's only going to help him.
Well, it's all about how they integrate, and honestly, Mike Woodson, I think for the most part, has been on the money in terms of how he's delegating responsibility. He's getting playing time, and when they're playing and playing, with different combinations. The only thing I don't like is there's this kid, Chris Copeland, who's really good. He's a rookie, and every time he gets in the game, he does good stuff, and he really hasn't been playing that much, but yeah, I think the Knicks, their winning percentage right now, I don't think that will last. Because I see there's certain aspects to their style that I think are being exposed in terms of, like Rainy Felton, J.R. Smith, they're having good years, but they're both shooting like 40%.
Yeah.
And after looking at that, like they're going to, for the long haul, they're going to need higher percentage shots, which is why you're going to need Amari. I still, worry when Carmelo goes to the bench, that they have trouble scoring. So I think having him back is going to help in that regard. And I think having him on Shumpert, so when he gets back, if you look at the Knicks, in every single game they've lost, they've gotten burned by guards.
Yeah.
Quick guards on the perimeter. So it's like James Harden lit him up both times. O.J. Mayo dropped like 30 on him. The last time they lost, Brooklyn beat him, Darren Williams had a big game. So they have really tough time keeping guards out of the paint because, Jason Kidd is 39. He's not stopping, really quick guys. So he's pretty good, but he's not, they need a lockdown guy, and that's what Shumpert will do, and that'll give them, and they're not a great rebounding team, and you're going to need Amari out there with Melo and with Chandler guarding certain front lines. He's just going to have to, he's going to need it. So, people talk, he's better at the floor because of the spacing. I'm like, well, sometimes he plays with Kurt Thomas.
Yeah.
What's it? And they play like 6 minutes, and the world doesn't end.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not like he does great at the floor because they have a power forward on him. No, they don't. They put their power forward on Brewer and have it's usually the team's small forward, the best defender guarding him.
Yeah.
That's usually what it is. So I don't think that's really correct. But I think there's certain, if you really look at the Knicks in the last 7 or 8 games, the games are getting closer. They're winning a lot of close games. So I think, I just don't think, they're on pace right now to win 64 games. And that's obviously not going to happen. So I'd peg them somewhere around 55, if they hold it up. So and you got to keep in mind too, the East is weakened by Derrick Rose being hurt, by Andrew Bynum being hurt. Like those teams are supposed to be,
and I think they got a good mix on their roster, though. I think once, like you said, once Shumpert comes back, because I mean he's a point guard, but he's also like 6'4" and like 220. I mean he's a tough kid, and I think having Amari back too. Like New York's been shooting the ball so well that offensively they can kind of play outside in, and I think when Amari comes back, there's going to be a little adjustment period. I think they might hover around like 500, like they'll be like 6-6 or something like that, and the buzz will still be going. But I think when he comes back, they'll be able to play inside out a little bit more, because they've been hitting so many threes that it's like, well, why not? I mean, Novak's coming in and killing them. Like, as a Pistons fan, like, I was excited because they hung in with him for like a quarter and a half, and then all of a sudden Novak just started hitting like every corner three, and I was just like, there's no way you can stop that. But I think when Amari comes back, it'll be good because they can do a little bit more driving and kicking, and those spot up guys, they don't have to worry about coming down and trying to find their shot. I think it's going to be easier. So I think they'll be all right. And I'm a little bummed out, though, man, because, like, as a Pistons fan, like, as a fan, you know, you try not to be delusional. And, like, I really love basketball, and I watch a lot of it. And, like, I do local broadcasting, and I like, do the high school stuff. And, like, I'm into it. And, like, I try not to be delusional. And I was so excited when they got Drummond because everybody labeled that kid a loafer, and I was like, listen, man, he's 19 years old. He just turned 19 in, like, August. I was like, Calhoun was hurt for, you know, most of the year, so he didn't have, like, a Hall of Fame coach to help him develop. He hasn't been playing basketball, like, competitively. Like, he's growing into his body. Like, give this dude some time, and, like, I think they have a good young nucleus, but I still think they're, like, a year away. When I look at it realistically now, like, it seems like they're just finding ways to lose games, and I think that's because they're young. Because that game where Noah scored like 30 and had like 23 rebounds, I think they were up by like 17 in the first half, and the Bulls ended up coming back and beating them. So I still think they're a year away, but I think Greg Monroe is like probably one of the most underrated big men in the league. I like Brandon Knight. I like their core. I think they're just.
Why do they still have Charlie Villanueva and Tyshawn Prince? I don't understand. Like, not saying they're bad players, but like, why don't they move on from these guys that are left over from, you know, the older team and kind of just start completely fresh? That's the thing I don't understand. Like, I feel like they were just holding on. They were like holding on to Rodney Stuckey and like, dude, just like do something. I don't know. Just their rebuild never felt like they were really rebuilding. It seemed like this slow kind of letting go of the grasp of like the championship team. You know, they were like, they took them forever to they wouldn't trade Rip Hamilton, and they just want to play. Like, just I don't know. I like their draft picks they've been making, but to me, either rebuild and just get rid of everybody. So what's the point of having a veteran on a rebuilding team?
Yeah. There's a lot of stopgapping going on.
A title, you know, where he knows, you know, it's like, you know, you got, you know, Tyshawn Prince would be very valuable to a contender, you know, and he would have definitely been even more a few years ago. So that's my only thing, you know, and I think some of the guys need to kind of move on from and just get young, and because, you know, at least the Pistons have a tradition of winning. It's not like a place where people, you know, don't want to play if they start getting good. So I think it just moves in cycles, you know. And one, you know, that's the great thing about basketball is one player can really change your franchise. You know, a lot of people get mad at like Dwight Howard and Carmelo and Chris Paul because they left their original franchises, but they would have stayed if the teams were good enough to win.
Yeah.
You know, people think it's about the market, and it's really not. It's about building a team. You know, that, you know, people get mad at LeBron and you know, all the guys who started the team, but it's like, well, what should they have done? Just, jumped on the stake. Like, you know, Kevin Garnett said, he's like, you know, he regrets staying in Minnesota those years because he didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, and you know, these dudes want to win, but when you have, you know, another, you know, this team where these guys are pairing up together, and, you know, it's really tough to beat them. You have to give yourself a chance. Or just say, well, you know, I guess I'm just not going to win a championship. You know, I mean, I mean, you do have those rare situations like, when Detroit won, was it 06 or 04?
04.
04. That was obviously unexpected when the Mavericks won 2 years ago. That was unexpected. So you do have those things, but more often than not, the team with the most stars wins. You know. So I don't begrudge these guys at all for team. I think it's tough to win. It's a league that's been dominated by dynasties for its entire history. And dudes got to do what they got to do. So I mean, hopefully, Detroit lands a player. Like I said, I think it goes in cycles. I mean, even Golden State's finally starting to win. So.
Yeah, I like their nucleus too. I didn't like Monte Ellis and Stephen Curry together. I just thought that it just wasn't going to work, and I figured that they were eventually going to break that up. And actually, I'm kind of surprised that it's been working pretty well in Milwaukee so far, like with Ellis and Jennings, because Jennings, I mean, he's a point guard.
Not working that well.
Well, it's not. Well, I mean, they're hovering around. They're hovering around 500 at this point. I think they're going to make the playoffs. Like I didn't like the pairing because they're both like undersized combo guards, and I feel like that just doesn't really work.
They're volume shooters. They're guys that shoot 40% and they take 17 shots apiece each. Yeah, it's not it's. I don't think they're dynamic, but I don't know. I think Monte Ellis is one of those dudes where he'd probably be best if he's like a sixth man.
Yeah, he's
on a good team, almost like what Kevin Martin is doing right now.
He's a Vinny the Microwave guy. He's a shooter you bring off the bench when the team's down by like 10, and you just find him in open spots and let him get hot. I'm totally in harmonious agreement with you.
Ellis, who would be great? The Lakers.
Yeah, it's true.
That guy coming off that bench would completely change that team. But the thing is, he's probably, they have the highest payroll in the league. They can't afford to get anybody. So, I mean, maybe they did a rental this year, but if Milwaukee's just trying to offload him. But,
are you surprised by the Lakers? Because I got to tell you, I'm not. Like when Dwight Howard went there, I said it, and there was a couple people who gave me heat for it. I was like, listen, if you look back, I mean, and I'm a young dude, but I love basketball. So like I've watched old highlight tapes. I have like a '90s slam jam something or other with like all these old dudes like Sean Kemp and Gary Payton, like the best alley-oop combos. Like I love it. I'm like a total nerd for it. And like if you look back the last 30 years, going back to like 83, every team that won it had three things. They had a coach who was top 10 in the league that year with the philosophies and the way they ran things. They played good team defense, and there was at least three guys coming off the bench that contributed. I mean, even last year, you look at the Miami Heat, as good as LeBron James is playing, like, everybody slams James Harden for, like, not showing up. I mean, to me, it's like, give me a break a little bit. He's in his early 20s. He's never been in that situation before. Did he play well? No, but it really wasn't his fault. Because if you look at Miami, without those last two games, with Mario Chalmers going off and Mike Miller shooting like 100% from three, Russell Westbrook put up like 45 in one of those games. Like, that series probably was going to go back to Oklahoma City. So if Chalmers and
that was a very tight. Like, I hate how this is what I hate. Is like that was a very most of those games could have gone either way, and then one team happens to come out on top, and then people like go to complete. They go overboard. Like they were unstoppable. They were destined. It's like no, I mean it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Miami won. I think LeBron put them over the top, but yeah.
Because the Lakers, who's coming off that bench, and that's what I told people. I was like, yeah, they got Howard, but I was like, he's coming off of back surgery, and I'm like, I love Steve Nash, I love his game, I love his character, he's a great guy, but I'm like, he's going to be 40 years old. There's nobody.
He hasn't played though. I mean, you can't judge that team. I mean, I think there's a lot of issues. One, I don't understand how you can get Phil Jackson and you don't get Phil Jackson. The guy has the best resume in the history of the game. He's already won. So to me, that tells me that that it's personal between the owner. It's a personal thing.
Yeah.
It's like, Dan Tony hasn't won shit. He hasn't in the finals. All right. Yeah, he revolutionized the game. Everyone knows that, offensively. But I was there, last few years in New York, and he does not inspire me. I don't know, but he just seems, I don't know. There's just something about coaches like that intangible thing. It's almost like a good actor. Good actor makes you believe, when they're on screen. I feel like a coach would think, like, when Doc Rivers is talking, to impress him, I believe him. Like, he inspires me. Even Eric Spoelstra, like, that dude he believes in what he's talking about. And I feel like certain guys just have it. I think Mike Brown didn't have it. I definitely don't think Tony has it. Doesn't mean that team can't get it together, but I can't really criticize. They lost their two two point guards. For most year, I wrote in the season preview of my blog. I said this team has a lot of potential to be a great team, but what happens if Steve Nash goes down? They're screwed.
Yeah.
It happened in the first and second game.
Yeah.
So it's like, I hate to be pathetic, but they didn't, the Ramon Sessions thing wasn't really their fault. Like, they should have gotten Ramon Sessions back, but he opted out of his contract, and I guess they didn't resign. And Dwight Howard is not Dwight Howard right now. He hasn't really, he just doesn't have the lateral movement, he doesn't have the lift, but that'll come back slowly but surely. Even the thing that's funny is Dwight Howard not being Dwight Howard, he's still basically putting up the same numbers. His scoring is down a touch, but he's taking less shots, but his percentages are all the same. But it was his free throw shooting stat. But he's still, like his rebounding down slightly, but he's still pretty dominant even when doesn't look like the same guy.
Yeah.
And Gasol has been, even when Gasol was there, he was hurt, and he's being screwed by D'Antoni's system. That's the thing is they should have brought back Phil Jackson because his system works better for the talent. He did a system with two centers with Gasol and Bynum, and it worked. But that's the way the triangle works. Actually, Steve Kerr tweeted me back. He educated me on that. The man who played in the triangle. So I can't really trust it. You have to understand, like, their bench guys have not played well. Antoine Jameson averaged 17 points last year starting for the Cavaliers. Jody Meeks was a starter for Philly last year.
Right.
So these guys can play, but they're not playing well. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you try and base what's going to happen off what already has happened, and that indicates everything. So things have a tendency of leveling out. So if sometimes guys have bad first halves, and then it corrects over the course of the season.
Yeah, I think when Steve Nash comes back, I thought that he was like the key to that whole thing anyway. Like I thought that they were gonna live or die by and I'm with you. Like, I'm not trying to sound like I hate to say I told you so, but I mean, like, I really thought when they got him, like when they got Dwight, I was like, all right. But then when they got Steve Nash, I was like, damn it. I was like, the Lakers always, because even though he's old, like, he doesn't have to play defense. He can still beat most 22-year-old dudes up and down the court. He's a great free throw shooter. He's a great 3-point shooter. That gets underrated because he's such a good passer. But even when he comes back, I'm like, well, because if you look at that injury against Portland, like, I mean, he got bumped and it caused like it was kind of a hard collision, but it caused like a bone fracture. And I just think it's because, that dude's got a lot of miles on him. Like, I think that they're going to be a lot better when he comes back. And I didn't think that they were going to be bad when they put it together, but I didn't like everybody saying, well, now because they got Nash and Dwight Howard, they're above Oklahoma City. And that was before the Harden thing. I was like, Oklahoma City still has the best core in the NBA.
That's assuming that everyone plays in the full. Like I said, this is based on what you know about these guys from before. So if you take all those guys and they all do the things they did last year, then they would be just as good as guys. They'd be up there. But that championship, they've been terrible at keeping their role players. You know, they could desperately use a guy like Trevor Ariza. You know, they could desperately use Matt Barnes. You know, they could even what's his name, Corey, who's on Phoenix now. I forget his name.
Shannon Brown.
Shannon Brown, I'm sorry. I said Corey. Shannon Brown. Yeah, like guy like athletic, you know, swing guards. You know, guys that can guard multiple positions. You know, because they're terrible. You know, their transition defense is terrible. You know, but I said that like these are old legs. These guys are not going to be able to handle quick teams really well. And yeah, and when you're relying on a guy like Nash who is older, because they're relying on, that's a big difference between what LA did and what New York did. You know, New York now they're kind of relying on Kidd. You know, he's starting, but that wasn't the original concept. The original concept was he's going to be Raymond Felton's backup. You know, so there was, and they had another backup for him. They had 3 guards just in case. So you know, so you have to have, when you're dealing with guys that old, you need to have redundancy built into the system.
Right.
And you know, the latest on it's going to be very interesting. You know, I think the most balanced out, but they have to be healthy. You can't. I don't care who you are. This, you know, the NBA is run by who's healthy. You know, if Chris Bosh didn't come back last year, you know, in that series against Boston, they don't win that series. You know.
Yeah, and he had a great finals too. He had a great finals.
You know, people talk about the Knicks. Oh, they were terrible. They got stopped. Oh yeah, weren't they missing their starting point guard, Jeremy Lin, out? Baron Davis goes out. Their starting shooting guard, over, goes out, tears the ACL in the first game. Amar Stoudemire breaks his, whatever, messes his hand, in the second game. Like, you can't, if you don't have your personnel, you're not going to be competitive. You can't sit there and tell me the third stringers are going to carry you through. So, really ultimately it's about who's healthy. And the teams that are more likely going to have a leg up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Even before the Harden deal went down, I thought it would be Oklahoma City and Miami again, just because I thought they were the deepest and I thought they were the toughest and the most well-rounded and experienced. And I think LA is going to make a push, but I mean the West has gotten a lot better too. I mean there's teams that I really feel like in the first and second round, if they get to the second round, I mean you look at like Denver. I mean we'll see if if Golden State can keep it up, but I mean you still got the Spurs. Like the West is still pretty deep. I mean, and OJ Mayo, I mean he's starting to look like the grab of the year. I mean he's been shooting lights out for Dallas. So I think for them to kind of miss on Darren Williams the way they did and not have that go through, like they bringing in Darren Collison and OJ Mayo and those guys, like they have a pretty decent roster. So even when Nash comes back and they get it together, I still think in the playoffs it's gonna be tough for LA. I think they got enough top heavy talent that they could still get to the Western Conference Finals, but I just can't pick them over Oklahoma City. I just think they're too efficient, and as much as people knock Russell Westbrook, like I really think that dude wants to win. Like I don't think he's gonna go out and try to score 60 if he knows that it's gonna hurt the team. Like so I kind of think it's shaping up for a repeat of last year, but I don't know. We'll see, man. I like what the Knicks have done, though. I think that they're going to surprise some people in the playoffs. I really think they're going to keep it up. Like, I think people are freaking out too much about Amari.
There's certain things about their team that really aren't going to change. One, they're the lowest turnover team in the league, which gives them a huge advantage. It's dramatic how they turn the balls like 10 times a game. So they get extra possessions. Their shooting, I don't think is really going to change that much. I mean, J.R. Smith is like a career, 38, 39% shooter. Novak strokes it. Jason Kidd in his latter years is a great three-point shooter. Melo just keeps getting better. So I think they're going to keep shooting from from the outside to a decent clip. Like I said, I think their main thing is just getting rebounding together and getting that perimeter defense. So that'll be interesting. I think the West is kind of wide open. You have to give the advantage to Oklahoma City just because they are the West champs, and they have the confidence, and they're young, and the Kevin Martin thing has seemed that worked out. But the Clippers are playing just as good as anybody. They still have guys that are still coming back from health. Grant Hill still isn't back. Phillips just went out again. So, Lamar Odom seems to be kind of getting better day by day. So they're probably the deepest team in the league. And they have Chris Paul, who's the top, right now top 2 or 3 or 4 guy in the league. So, yes, I think they're going to be tough. The Spurs are still the Spurs. I think Oklahoma has the mental advantage just because they beat them last year, and the way that so.
And Memphis looks tough too. Zach Zebo looks like he's healthier this year. I mean, Memphis has been looking pretty good.
Oh, Memphis has been great. So I think those 3 teams are playing the best. And like I said, you never know what could happen with the Lakers and how they can, if they can pull it together. And even if they end up, they're going to have to play really well just to get in. It's a good chance at this point they put themselves in such of a hole where they're going to be a low seed if they get in. Like I said, things could change in the East if Boston starts playing better, Brooklyn starts playing better, if Derrick Rose comes back, because Chicago's played well without him. So they're still a threat, even though I don't like their role players this year as much as I did in the past couple years. They lost Kyle Korver, they lost C.J. Watson, they lost Keith Bogans, they lost Ronnie Brewer, and Sheik. So they basically lost their entire bench last year.
And Lucas is gone too, isn't he?
Yeah.
John Lucas, I think he's playing with somebody else too.
Yeah, he's gone too. So they lost that. And like I said, they made it pretty seamless, which tells me that Thibodeau, his system is just right. He knows how to motivate people and get players to play well. So, but if they get Rose back and he's good, if he's 80% of what he was, that's going to make them, instantly back in the conversation.
Yeah, if he makes an Adrian Peterson-like recovery and comeback, like Chicago could be like the wild card definitely in the East. I mean, because he's that good.
People forget the best record in each conference 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
That means something.
So if you had a gun to your head right now and you had to predict the finals, what would you say?
I mean, I'd probably agree with you. That's going to be Oklahoma, Miami. It's like one of the things that you can't worry about the regular season right now. I mean, it's tools. People, your record is who you are, and we're not even a third way through the season, and it's always how you finish is way more important than how you start. So that will be, I think, dictate really what's going to happen. And the team with the best record hasn't won in a couple of years. So what does it really mean? It means you played the best regular season, but you also have to play everyone. In the playoffs, you only have to play one team at a time.
Right.
How you match up with that team, can you beat that team 4 to 7 games? And that's ultimately going to be about matchups, going to be about adjustments. So to make those predictions now, I think is a little silly anyway.
Yeah, and that's the one universal thing about basketball, too, at any level that I think people forget, especially, even in the NCAA tournament every year, there's that Cinderella team, and they surprise everybody, but a lot of times it's the team with the guards and the team that plays good defense. I mean, basketball, it doesn't matter if you're Connecticut or Toledo. Like, if you match up well with somebody, that's what's important. So I definitely think that's something that kind of gets lost in the shuffle for sure. But
Boston beat Miami in the regular season the last 2 years, 3 out of 4 games, and Miami beat them. So the regular season doesn't mean too much to me. I think Miami, though, if it's not Wade, if he's not doing what he usually does and being a dominant player, I think it makes them
Yeah.
So that's the one kind of caveat with that team is they have the three-headed monster, but those guys have to be great for it to work because they're supporting cast. Out there, Ray Allen now, which is great, but their supporting cast is not as dependable as perhaps some other teams. So.
Well, look at that Indiana series last year. If Wade doesn't show up, I think in Game 4, and I think him and LeBron went for like 60 plus. I mean, Indiana legitimately probably could have beat them if Wade didn't show up. So that you're spot on with that.
I think they combined for like almost 70 points or something.
Yeah.
Well, that game, and then LeBron scored like 45. It was something crazy. It was like, both those guys, Wade averaged like 33 points in the last 4 games of that series.
Yeah.
But that's what they need because they have Bosch, So, I think that's successful, and that's the one thing I think why the Knicks need Amari back. They need that real number 2, that guy that can go out and he that can give you 20. Amari can score 20 points just in the flow of the offense. You don't really, just off pick and rolls and putbacks, and he's another guy. At least your power forwards without Amari is Rasheed Wallace, Kurt Thomas, Marcus Kemp. Are you generally you want those guys out there instead of Amari Stoudemire, who's 30, 31 years old. Who's still got athleticism on his side. So. I think it definitely makes the Knicks better, and there's things like I said that can work in the regular season, but you're going to need those guys that can get you buckets down, in the playoffs, and that's why you have, the most talent really does help in this game. So.
Well, Doc, this has been awesome, man. I feel like you're a brother from another lover. I could probably talk to you all day, but dude, this has been so great to just talk to you about your journey with God Forbid and Equilibrium and basketball. Like, I can't thank you enough for giving me 2 hours of your time, dude. This is awesome.
No problem. Thanks for setting it up, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's music is something that I'm not musically inclined in any way. I try to play the guitar. I have a guitar. I really like it. It's a Schecter. It's got some EMG HZs, and it's a pretty good bargain for what I got it for. It's a Damien 6, and I try to play every now and again, but I work like I have a part-time gig at a hospital locally, and then I write, and then I do some broadcasting stuff like high school sports, and like this Friday we've got boxing. So I'm kind of throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. But no, talking to guys like you, it's inspiring because it just kind of reminds me in my own life. It's like, you gotta, at the end of the day, it's like you gotta do what you're passionate about, because that was one thing that I learned when that happened to me, like in high school when I had that tumor. I was like, man, at the end of the day, whenever we put our heads to the pillow, like the one thing all of us have in common is like all you have are the people you love and whatever's important to you. Like everything else doesn't mean anything, because if you don't wake up the next day, then what's it matter if you're P. Diddy and you're worth 500 million or whatever, or if you're some dude in Toledo who just likes writing about music. Like, it's at the end of the day, you got to do what you're passionate about. I mean, obviously we got to make money to survive. I mean, shoot, I'm pushing 25, and it's even embarrassing to me sometimes, and I beat myself up because I'm like, man, I'm still trying to get out of the house and survive on my own and do my own thing. But I think talking to guys like you, man, it's like, I really think that you guys are a great band, and I think you guys are like, I think people are inspired by the music that you make, but also by the fact that you guys are true to your craft. And I can, as a writer and as a fan of metal, that's definitely why I was so excited to talk to you. So I can't thank you enough, man, for sure.
No problem, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, dude. Well, take care, and definitely Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and nothing but the best for you guys going forward too, man. To you and yours, I hope the holidays go well for sure.
Likewise, brother. Happy holidays, man. I'll talk to you then.
All right, see you, Doc.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Righty-dighty. That was part 2 of my conversation with Doc Coyle, guitarist for God Forbid, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you check him out, and I hope you really enjoyed that conversation. It was awesome talking with him. For those of you who are also basketball fans, surprise, we talked about basketball for a large chunk of the end of that interview, in addition to Equilibrium, because he's a huge hoops guy. By the way, make sure you check out his hoops blog that he does on metalsucks.net. Just go to metalsucks.net or Google metalsucks Doc Coyle, DOCCOYLE, and you can find the hoops stuff he does about the NBA on there. And he's a cool dude, man. It was one of those times where you meet somebody, you talk to somebody, and you're like, damn, I feel like I've known this person for a long ass time. And Doc and I, honestly, I feel like we could have probably talked for like 5 hours and just gone back and forth about music and basketball and whatever, because he was just so down to earth and so cool. So thank you very much, Doc, for being a great human being as well as a great musician. And like I said, man, I can't champion this album enough. Equilibrium. I played Mike some of it, and Mike is, from a little bit different of a time than I am, and I played him Where We Come From, and I played him Don't Tell Me What to Dream, and Mike was even like, damn.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
He was like, these dudes are good. And they are. So I hope you check out Equilibrium. You can go to facebook.com/official God Forbid and get all the updated information on those guys. And actually, I just saw recently they are going to be playing a benefit show for Hurricane Sandy in Atlantic City. I think they're going to be headlining. So go to facebook.com/official God Forbid and check out the deets on that if you're on the East Coast, if you want to check out that show. But that just shows you the kind of dudes that these guys are. Like I said, I'm almost positive I have the deets on that correct. I can't remember the exact date, but go to facebook.com/official God Forbid and you can check that out. And make sure you go see those dudes live, man, because they're awesome. And go to victoryrecords.com. You can also get Equilibrium and God Forbid merch there, and just all around good dudes, man. So thank you, Doc Coyle, for being awesome. Thank you, God Forbid, and thank all of you, man. Mike and I would probably do this if there were 4 people listening, but the fact that 26, almost 2,700 of you now, in a little over, not even like 2 months, basically, a little over 2 months, have visited my channel. I thank you very much, and I encourage you to subscribe for free on iTunes, because
he'll give you a Flowbee.
Don't lie to the people, Mike. Maybe one of these days when I start...
Just an alternative to get rid of hair.
If and when I start making more... Listen, if you're a dude and you're using a Flowbee, you are super hairy, all right? All right, there's a certain level of manscaping that is acceptable, and then there's a level of manscaping that goes over the hill. And I would tend to think that if you're a younger dude, you don't want to go too far.
I think we need to say goodbye, huh, Mike?
I think we do too. I personally, I champion chest hair though. If you're a dude, you need some chest hair. Maybe not a rug, okay? Maybe not like you don't want a welcome mat on your chest, all right? You don't want her to get her fingers stuck in there. You don't want loose chains getting caught in there. But you need a few hairs. All right, Mike's daughter's here, and she's over the age of 8. Haley, do you prefer chest hair on guys, or do you want them to have like bare, smooth chest?
She likes a bare, smooth chest.
What? What is this world coming to, man?
I told you we should have said goodbye before.
What is this world coming to? Well, anyway, we're going to wrap it up here because today is actually January 1st. There's a lot of football going on, and Mike hates Michigan, and he wants to see them get their butts kicked because his sister's a huge Michigan fan. But thank you, all of you who are listening. Make sure you check us out at ToledoSportsNetwork.com, ToledoFreePress.com. You can follow me on Twitter at mbauman5. That's BAUMAN and the number 5. Check out Doc Coyle on Twitter at DocForbid. And, check out God Forbid's music, man, especially Equilibrium. It's an awesome album. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, all of you. Keep the faith and be kind to one another in the new year. Peace.